Hello, Opening Pathways viewers, and welcome to Opening Pathways today. Jeffrey Kaplan is with us today. Jeffrey is the CEO of Optimus Ventures, has a project that he's working in with Asheville after the hurricane there that all of you probably have heard about that devastated the area, and a TEDx speaker. We're going to learn about Jeffrey today and the things he's working on. Hi, Jeffrey. Welcome to Opening Pathways.
Tom, it is great to be with you and your listeners. Thank you so much for having me today.
It's great to have you here. So I want to start at the beginning. I want to know some about your venture in Asheville. I know you have a great story about how you got there. I'd love to know a little bit about that. And I want to know what really sparked your idea to get involved into this venture you're in.
Great. So I moved here 10 years ago because my wife wanted to live here. And I joke and I say we had a good thing going. I didn't want to screw it up. And we're still very happily married with two kids here in Asheville. She grew up in the Atlanta area, came up here as a kid. A lot of people come up here for camps and they fall in love with the Blue Ridge Mountains. And I grew up in South Florida and I too fell in love the minute I got here. It's a great place to live. We have tons of things to do, great natural beauty, and we're very lucky to be here.
Great. And viewers, Jeffrey has a great story about how his family um, years and years ago got started in America, and we're going to hear about that as we move forward. Tell me about the Asheville venture after the hurricane and
Mhm.
what sparked your idea to get involved in it.
So Venture Asheville is part of our Economic Development Coalition. It's a 35, maybe almost 40-year partnership with the city, the county, and the Chamber of Commerce. And very uniquely, we have high growth entrepreneurship baked into our region's economic development strategy, which is usually looked like startups or tech companies that are going to create high paying jobs, seed capital, and get an exit event. Things really changed here after the hurricane. Capital dried up. You know, FEMA says after a disaster like that, you can expect 40% of businesses to close. And we felt like we couldn't let that happen. So, working with some philanthropists and investors, we started a new fund that is a hybrid venture philanthropy fund. We merge grants with SPA notes, shared profit agreements, not revenue share, not equity, not debt. This is a new, completely new financial vehicle we've created called the SPA note, and you can read about it on our website. Um, and now we're up to a $2 million fund. We'll invest in 40 companies and help them recover. Each company needs to have a hurricane disaster tieback. So you got to show your property was damaged, your building, you lost inventory, lost sales, lost employees, people moved. There's lots of the impacts of a disaster like this are very far reaching. And
Yeah.
basically everyone here has a disaster tieback.
Since you got involved, how did it change you?
I came in, I think, with lots and lots of enthusiasm of places I've lived and accelerators or incubators I've been a part of, startups I've been a part of, and I had to adjust my expectations to the reality of our ecosystem, right? You have to nurture what naturally thrives. So when I moved here, people were, and I was saying the same thing. We're going to be the next Austin. We're going to be the next Boulder, maybe the next Nashville, just down the road from us. And, we don't have the same resources. We don't have the same government structure.
Uh,
We don't have the same university involvement or research happening here. We don't have the same kind of talent or capital stack here. You don't have investors that are used to power laws that will tolerate 9 failures and 1 success in a portfolio of 10. So the ecosystem has, and I have concurrently matured. Moving here before the pandemic was one big shift, and then the hurricane was another big shift. So we have social fabric here in Asheville that I think a lot of communities don't have. We have a really strong sense of identity and purpose with the people who choose to live here and be here because it's about immigration in our area. And so it's changed me to listen more, to not be the first to talk, to not jump out with the idea or the solution, and be more of a consensus builder, identify a shared gap, and then ideate how do we adjust that gap. And for us, it was the SPA note was a big one like that because our investors here were not getting liquidity. Founders didn't love the idea of giving up control. And so we've kind of worked backwards into this financial vehicle.
yeah, I bet viewers right now are searching away trying to find out what a spawn is. So I know you have a great story, and I want you to share a little bit about it. We all that I found there's someone early in our life that planted seeds that have to do with who we became in life. Who was that for you?
For me, that would be my grandfather, Sam Kaplan. Sam was born in Havana. My father was also born in Havana, Cuba. And the story goes that he didn't really finish high school and he started in hosiery and textile mills in Cuba, where a lot of the offshore production at that time in the 40s and 50s for America was happening. And then by the early 1960s, the story goes my grandfather was eating breakfast, reading the newspaper, and read that his factory was nationalized. It became part of the Communist Party of Cuba, meaning, no more ownership, no more profit, no more uh, even wage decisions. In Cuba, you can't decide what people make in their salary. And then going back 2 generations, my grandfather's ancestors fled Russia and Poland from pogroms. They saw the writing on the wall, and I just can't. He was 30 years old. He had 3 kids, set of grandparents, cousins, the whole family, right? They had to decide to start all over again, just 3, 4 generations after being in Cuba, to start all over, and they came to America. The textile capital in America at that time was in Charlotte. So that's where my family of Jewish Cuban immigrants who only spoke Yiddish and Spanish ended up in the 60s.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, my
I have a
grandfather
dear,
showed incredible tenacity, work his butt
yeah,
off, and he's always been a role model for our whole family.
I love this story. I have a dear friend on Maui who has a similar story. His family was from Havana, and he grew and they came from Poland, I think, to the States, and created an amazing life for the future generations of their family. So I love these stories where this happens, and only in America. I hope we keep it that way.
That
So tell
I
me,
I agree. I'm with you.
yes, yes, I want to know what personal values have guided you from the start, and which one has deepened lately.
Hmm. Personal values. One is to provide for the family. I saw that in my grandfather. I see it in my father, and it's my turn, right? It's my role. My wife also works. We're a dual income house, and I think you need to have that in America if you want to have the standard of living you hope for. So we work hard, and this reminds me, my first job out of college, I was a teacher, middle school teacher at the affiliated school where I went to middle school and high school. And my old coach saw me and said to my supervisor, "Good luck with Jeff. He's a bright kid, but not a hard worker." And and that has stuck with me for the past 18 years of realizing being bright might get you in the room, but hard work is where success is going to come from. And yeah, I realized then I want to be known as a hard worker. And I
Yeah,
wish I knew that in high school, but I'm glad in college that changed. I went to grad school. When I went to grad school, I was with the mindset that I'm going to get I had to pay for grad school. I had scholarships for undergrad, and so I'm paying for it now. I better get a lot out of this.
changes the game, doesn't
It does, yeah, yeah, yeah. I used to, I had basically a full scholarship and school was easy, and yeah, it could have been harder if I worked harder. Could have got better
it? Yeah,
grades, but I'm happy with where
yeah,
I ended up. And what's deepened is the work ethic. I really had to personally mature into a stronger ethic.
yeah. I'm sure that coach would be very proud of you today. Tell me this, where has life asked you to slow down recently?
So the true answer is my therapist, who has tattoos on his knuckles that say "slow down." And so it's a constant reminder when you're with him. And when I'm,
Else have-
it's just great. It's like he looks like like a biker. He's got tattoos all over his body, and you look at his knuckles, and it's slow down. Uh, yeah, slow down. And my 2 lessons from him are slow down and lighten up. So yeah, lately with little kids, a 6 and 4-year-old, almost 7-year-old, work is incredibly demanding. and there's never a shortage of work to do. So I could be working 24 hours a day, but then to the disadvantage of, this is the what I try to tell myself when I talk to founders, well, I love the 0 to 1 stage of a company. Is this the most creative, most fun, and you never get that time back. Even in your next venture, it's never going to be the same as the few of you sitting around your garage or a crappy office, just trying to make something happen, trying to make some magic. And I'm reminding myself that I'm in that right now with my family, that my kids are never going to like me
Ah,
more than they like me now. That I come home and kids scream, "Dad's home!" And they run and hug me and we sit and
the
we play
best.
and have
Yeah.
dinner. And so that's where I'm slowing down is, gosh, all I wanted to do last night after work and after dinner was just get in bed and pull the covers up and call it a night. And my daughter was playing with kinetic sand, which is really fun. And she said, "Dad, will you sit and play with me?" Yes. So I, suck it up, take a big
Of
sigh, put the
course.
phone away, and then 5 minutes later, I am all energized again and having a ton of fun with her, and we're laughing and we're playing together. And that's where I need to be slowing down, is really enjoying these moments with my kids who are young and impressionable and funny and innocent and pure and just full of love and humor.
Yes.
They're great.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. You'll never get it back. I called to wish my niece a happy birthday day before yesterday. She was 34. I was in the room when she was born, and
Wow.
that seems to have gone by with a blink of the eye. And I said to her, Jenna, you got older. I didn't. How did that happen? Um, tell me this, Jeffrey. How has your relationship with risk changed since you've been working on this Asheville venture?
Ooh. Risk personally has gone down significantly. When I a year or two into this job, we bought a bigger house. At that time, we were like, wow, this is too much house for us. And we bought in 2019. And gosh, did we buy at a good time, because the housing market here and the changes and interest rates and costs. And so, but my risk was, hey, suddenly I can't just go off on a whim and quit my job and have a passion about something and want to try this new startup idea I have, which I, like you, probably get 10 new startup ideas a day. Suddenly it was, hey, we can't just jump and try something new. We have roots, we have a mortgage, and then I had 2 kids, and that risk tolerance goes down further and further, and it's about playing the long game now, not looking for a quick win. So that's how it's
Yeah,
been at home in my personal life. At work, we tend to take bigger and bigger risks the more success we have. So early in this job, we won a gold medal from the International Economic Development Council for innovation programs. And it was, hey, we took a risk on a special kind of award show and ranking event we do every year, where we rank the fastest growing startups in the area. It's a gala for the whole community. And that was so well received that that event got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now that we've got the credibility and the success, we can take a new risk. So that became, we tried out new incubators for the Chamber of Commerce for lifestyle Main Street businesses, to give them the same kind of entrepreneurial mindset training we give to our startup founders. And that went okay. We learned a lot about the fit and the goals of our Main Street businesses versus our high growth ventures. And recently, with we're a 128-year-old organization, the Chamber of Commerce here. So 2 years ago, to go to them and say, hey guys, I want to start a fund. I want to start writing checks into companies. It was, we don't do that. That's not a charitable purpose. That's not how that works. And with the right relationship building, with the right research and presentations and understanding how to present to our board better, and understanding incentive and goal alignment and mission alignment, we walked backwards into the fund we have today, and it's much stronger for that reason.
got it. I want to know, Jeffrey, how do you decide when to pivot or push through?
Feedback is a gift. And I think often of the story in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers. I'll keep this really brief. The sages say there are 4 kinds of students. There is the sponge, sucks everything in and holds it all in. There is the funnel, takes everything in and lets everything go. There is I always confuse these. I think it's the sieve. You pour wine through a sieve and it keeps the detritus and the debris, and then the good wine flows through. And then there is the sifter. So if you're doing grain or separating wheat from chaff, the good stuff stays in the sifter and then the waste falls through. So when it comes to pivot or push through, you start with feedback and data. So feedback conversationally, anecdotally, what'd you think? How'd that work for you? If we did this again, what would you do different? Take all the feedback and the data. Was this event or program a flop? Did we lose sponsors? Do we make all of our events, because we're a nonprofit, we just want to break even? If we're losing money, what's going on? Does that mean there's no market demand? So you have some data, you have some feedback, and then you want to be the sieve. You want to let the feedback that's unqualified or irrelevant go, and you take it objectively. You try not to, we tried something, we put out in the market, here's what the market said. And if there's still good nuggets and good kernels, can you hang on to that value and pivot from there? Or do you drop it? So it's not just pivot or push through. You also got to know when to drop something.
Yeah, thank you. This was a lot of wisdom you just shared, Jeffrey, with the viewers. And I know for me personally, the sieve will be on my mind now
Yeah.
for a few
Yeah.
days. I was with one of my coaches. If you're a coach and you don't have a coach, you're not a coach. And sieve fits well with what we were talking about. So tell me this, how does Jeffrey recognize when fear is information and not a stop sign?
Everything is information. If the somatic therapy body of work, or even stoicism, are very similar on this. All information is objective. It's just information. It's how you interpret it, how you experience it, what you do with it, what your decisions you make from that information are up to you. That's in your control. So fear, a lot of my fears are about failure, about letting down my community. We've taken a big risk with this fund. We have, about $1 million from the city in this. There's another $1 million from local high net worth individuals, investors who are investing in my decision making and my thesis. And I have a lot of fear of disappointing people. I feel like I'm suddenly responsible for lots of different stakeholders
Yeah.
that I wasn't when I started this job. And then you have to balance that, frankly, with it's a job. This is not my business. I am the CEO, but there's no equity. It's owned by the chamber. And so I think that's probably how I do it. I balance my fear of disappointment with trying to put things in context. We all have such myopia of our own problems and our own issues and our own concerns, and trying to take that. And then somatics is always good, right? I always feel it in my jaw and my neck. And sometimes my ears is where I start feeling that fear of disappointment. And I don't know why that is, but I've learned, right, to like work that jaw out, and I stretch my face when I'm starting to feel, hey, my emotions, the fear response is hitting my body. So good, right? That gives me something to do. I can
Yeah.
pause, I can work through it, and then try to think more clearly.
Yeah, I have got some things to talk to you about that jaw, so we'll have to talk later
Okay,
about this.
great.
Tell me this, what impact are you most proud of? Not professionally, not publicly, but personally.
The other ones are easier to answer. Professionally, I can talk to you about the jobs we've created and the revenues we brought in and the investments we've had. Personally, I've been really fortunate to have a wonderful support team where I work, and incredibly supportive parents and a supportive spouse and supportive in-laws that have been so patient with me to mature into the person I am today and the person I will become. I'm 40 years old, so I feel like a lot of that is, the cake's pretty much baked, but I know I have a lot of transitions ahead of me. I
Yeah.
know I'm going to experience a lot of loss in my life, and I will be forever changed by those experiences. I'm, I guess, personally proud of the friends, family, and support that I've been able to build around me of patient people that share the perspective that we are all becoming, that we are not done, that we are not done as people, and we have room to grow and room to mature. Yeah, I really screwed up bad in a board meeting and called somebody out in a rude way I shouldn't have done. Another board member sat me down and said, "Yeah, you screwed up. Here's how you screwed up. And here's what you need to do next time. But you're going to get another chance at this.
Yes. Yeah. It's
So the
good.
next time you're in that position with this board, here's how you need to play it." And so, yeah, a wonderful mentor. Like you said about coaches, if you're a mentor and you don't have a mentor, you're also not mentoring right.
Yeah. True.
It's so I think that's what I'm
True.
most proud of is the tribe, if you will, that I've been able to
Yeah.
grow around me and my family to
I
help
love
each other perform, continually improve.
love this. I have a conversation when people turn 40 with them. So maybe you and I'll have that conversation too.
I hope we
Tell
stay in each
me,
other's lives for a long time. I can learn a lot.
yeah, yeah, yes, we're going to make that happen. So tell me this, what boundary has become essential to your sustainability?
There's a note right here on my computer. It says no emails in bed. That was a comment from my coworker Matt, and I said, "Yeah, I got to write that down." So that's so I can't walk away from work every day at 5 o'clock and put it away completely. Um, you know, Something comes in 6, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, a text message, an email, and if I can answer it quickly, I'll do that. But no emails in bed. That's a boundary for me.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I caught myself, I never had Instagram before, and my marketing team forced me to get Instagram. And so then I started and I realized you'd think I would, having worked at Facebook in the early years, but I just never did it. But now I had to have one of these boundaries in place because I found myself looking at Instagram before I went to sleep at night. And I'm like,
Mm,
that's not going to work. So I'm with you. There's these boundaries, especially with the devices
absolutely.
that we have, correct? It's so true. So tell me this, what does renewal look like for Jeffrey beyond just the typical day off or resting?
Renewal for me is taking a page out of our curriculum from Optimus Ventures. We track every week by different entrepreneurial competency, and one of them is resilience. I find the best way to resilience refers to the ability for something to take its shape after being misshapen. So you think about springs or slinkies. You can pull it, and does it always go back to its shape? How much is bent forever? But resilience is the ability to get back to the original shape. Well, what I found and what really restores and renews me is volunteering, getting out of my bubble, not being the Venture Asheville guy, not being the Optimus Ventures guy. Um, Volunteering, whether that's, and we require founders to do this too, because when they create connections and relationships from a new facet of their identity, they remember there's a lot more to me than my venture. Because the founder and the venture are so inseparable. Let's pick on Facebook. Is there how many conversations does Zuckerberg have that are not about Meta or something they're doing at Meta, right? So the ability to break out of that shell, go somewhere new, make new connections in service of others is incredibly uh, refreshing and renewing for me. Um, and in this most recent one, I've been following my kid. We're very active in Cub Scouts. I became the pack treasurer because I saw a finance guy, but I get to connect with people I would never meet. Get to serve others. Service is a huge part of the organization, and it's all about the development of these young kids into great people. And it just helps me, when I'm there, I don't think about work. People ask about it on, with business owners in the pack, but it's just a chance to renew myself by breaking out of my shell and doing service.
Yes, giving back and being of service reminds us how much we are all the same, how much we all want the same things out of
Hmm.
life. And I'm sure you will agree with me that the cliche people say is very true. When you give, you receive far more than you gave. It's a true fact. So tell me this. Jeffrey, what have you learned about trust since you started working on this Asheville venture?
Another cliche that's true. It takes a long time to build and it's very fast to lose. Um, I spend a lot of time relationship building. I'll get together with people that I want to meet or who I've met years ago, just do the casual catch up. Hey, let's get coffee, let's get lunch, let's get a beer. I haven't seen you in a while. I just want to hear what's going on. Meeting people with no ask for sure is when I used to build trust. Just and I try to be very open and personal. The more transparent and vulnerable I can be, the more again, it's like volunteering. The more you give, the more you receive. And if you're doing that, if you're openly sharing and the person's very closed off, just recognize it and move on. It's not the kind of for me where trust and reputation and giving first are so important. If the person I'm talking to does not vibe, not in that wavelength, then they're probably not
Yeah.
somebody I want in my tribe.
I love this. Trust, I look at it sometimes and we see those beautiful pieces of art where the artifact breaks and they put it together and it has the gold in between. So it looks
Oh,
beautiful,
sure.
but you can always tell it was broken, right? Trust is
Mhm.
like that. It's very, very, very hard to recover. And I think even when you do, there's a glimmer of something there that sticks. So I'm with you on that. Tell me this. What does legacy mean to you at this phase of your life?
To define it as something that lives on without you, right? So not just without you, but also your values, your intention, your motivations. I don't know what my legacy will look like. I haven't. I know what I want my kids to say, I've shared this with my wife, and she doesn't agree. But I want at my funeral, hopefully, many, 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 many years from now, my kids give me a eulogy, and they say, "Dad was always such a pushover." That's what I want my legacy for them to be. Dad never said no to us, and still developed us into good people that aren't
I
spoiled
love
kids.
that.
That's
Beautiful.
but that's not the reputation I have at work. I'm not a pushover. I'm not, you know,
That's
it's much more metric driven in any kind of organization that has funding behind it. But yeah, for the family, I don't think that was a pushover. That's all my CB.
How do you define success beyond the metrics that we use? We keep all these numbers and metrics. You just spoke to it. When you set those aside, what does success mean to you?
Are you satisfied or exceeded your expectations of your goals?
Got it. Very good. Jeffrey, tell me this. What's the boldest vision of what's coming next?
Whew. Our thesis for Optimus Ventures is very new. We're talking about tech-enabled lifestyle ventures. We're very, very early in this concept. We're also very early in venture philanthropy. So, you know, what would a long-term success or legacy look like here is that Asheville, not just a city, but as a region, this Western Carolina region, is, again, we don't want to be the next Austin or next Boston. We don't have the resources or assets to be one of those kind of communities. But we have amazing, smart, curious, quirky people here. I want this city to be a place where they find themselves with all their resources and talent and capital they need to be really successful. Let this be a mecca for the people who don't fit in other places but still have a dream and want that entrepreneurial journey. And that's my big goal. Beyond what I can
Yeah.
do here is that's our reputation. You got a crazy dream, you got a crazy idea for a business, you need to go to Asheville.
Love that. I love Asheville. As I shared with you when we spoke earlier, I used to go there as a kid. We used to go to North Carolina for our summer vacations, and those mountains are just amazing. I was there recently and got to visit some of those places. And I must admit, as an adult, they look smaller than they did when I was a kid. And even as majestic as they are, that's kind of
You
how I
spent too
think
much
life
time out
is.
west. That's why I
I
spent some
That's
time
it.
on it.
That's it. These too big of mountains out here. Tell me this. If a very, very, very young Jeffrey was watching this podcast we were recording, what would you tell him?
Work harder. You've got, yeah, I wish I could tell myself that, just a little bit of hard work will get you so much farther than resting on what kind of natural ability or natural charisma or natural intelligence you think you have. Showing more effort early is what's going to get you the opportunities you want.
Wonderful, wonderful. So tell me this. If you wanted to leave the viewers with one invitation today, what would it be?
If you could please go to our website, and we have this thing called, as a blog on there, the Open Letter on Spa Notes. That's at optimusventures.co. This is a new to the world financial document that, again, founders don't give up equity. Investors are getting an above market return. It gives a role and defines where venture philanthropy can lead in this, nascent space. One of my goals to being on here was just to evangelize spa notes. I think back, was it maybe about 10 years ago, safe notes got really, really popular. And everyone said, you got to get a safe note. It's what Y Combinator uses. They created it. If it's good enough for Y Combinator, it's good enough for you. And safe notes did not pick up in the Southeast for a long time. It was very skeptical. And so I know that we'll have a similar skeptical trajectory in front of us. So why do you need to create a new financial document? What's wrong with what you already have? Well, it doesn't fit the reality of businesses today, of what people can do with small teams and a little bit of technology. They can do a whole lot more and try to get an investor an exponential return. They can do a lot more good for themselves, really hire in their communities. So, yeah, help us evangelize it, learn about it,
Yeah,
share it with a friend. Hey, a friend who's starting a business, say, did you ever consider a spa note? Have you heard about these? This is a new form of capital for you.
yeah, yeah. I know the viewers, and as soon as I get off of this podcast, we're all going to be searching for spa notes. So, Jeffrey, tell me, how can we find you?
LinkedIn's the best spot for me. It's an easy URL, linkedin.com/in/JeffDude. That was my high school nickname, and it was available on LinkedIn. That was a funny decision 15 years ago, and now it's my
It's
LinkedIn URL. Find me on
and people
LinkedIn.
will
Um,
people will find you forever, right?
Yeah, great. Yeah, there's only one Jeff Dude. So find Jeff Dude on LinkedIn or Jeffrey Kaplan, optimusventures.co. And yeah, Instagram and Facebook, that's really, I use that for personal things, just to show pictures of my kids and what I'm eating that day. So I wouldn't recommend those. But I
I
would
love it.
say LinkedIn and our website, we have newsletters on ventureasheville.com and optimusventures.co where we share events and updates.
Great. Jeff, thanks for being on Opening Pathways today.
Thank you, Tom. Great to be with you.
And to my viewers, this is Tom Lenoble, and I'll see you next time.